Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a moment in every person's life when staying the same becomes more painful than changing. A moment when you realize that comfort has quietly turned into a cage, and 2026 is not just another year on the calendar, it is a line in the sand. It is the year you decide whether you repeat your past or completely redefine your future. Becoming unrecognizable does not mean pretending to be someone else. It means finally becoming who you were always capable of being. It starts with one decision, a decision so powerful that it reshapes how you think, how you act, and how you live every single day. Let me show you how that transformation begins. Decide that average is no longer an option. Becoming unrecognizable in 2026 begins with a single, uncompromising decision. You are no longer available for an average life. Average is not safe. Average is not comfortable. Average is the silent place where dreams slowly die while people convince themselves they are fine. The moment you tolerate average, you teach your mind to settle, your standards to drop, and your future to shrink. Transformation starts when you feel a deep internal refusal to stay where you are. Raising your standards is not about pressure, it's about identity. It is the moment you decide that how you treat your body, your time, your work, and your potential must change. Standards are what you do, not what you say. When your standards rise, your choices rise automatically. You stop asking how little effort you can give and start asking what excellence demands from you today. This decision requires brutal honesty. You must look at your current results without excuses or self-judgment and accept one truth. Your life is a reflection of what you've been willing to accept so far. This is not blame, it is power, because the moment you accept responsibility, you gain control. You stop waiting for motivation, luck, or permission, and you start leading your own life. Choosing to reject average also means embracing discomfort. Growth does not happen in convenience, it happens in challenge. The workouts that test you, the conversations you avoid, the discipline you resist, these are the exact places where the new version of you is forged. Every time you choose the harder path, you reinforce a new self-image, someone who follows through, someone who does not quit, someone who expects more from themselves. Once this decision is made, it must be reinforced daily. Standards are not set once, they are lived. You reinforce them through what you tolerate and what you refuse to tolerate. You no longer accept wasted time, half-effort, or self-betrayal. You don't wait for perfect conditions, you act in imperfect ones, and slowly, consistently, your actions begin to match the level of life you say you want. By the time 2026 is over, people won't recognize you not because you became someone else, but because you finally stopped settling for less than you were capable of. This is the decision that changes everything, the decision to say, once and for all, average no longer lives here. Cut the identity that keeps pulling you back. You cannot step into a new future while dragging an old identity behind you. Most people don't fail because they lack talent, intelligence, or opportunity. They fail because they keep living from an outdated self-image. They try to change their habits without changing who they believe they are, but lasting transformation begins at the identity level. If you want to become unrecognizable in 2026, you must be willing to release the version of you that no longer serves where you're going. Your identity is shaped by the stories you repeat in your mind. I've always been like this. I'm not disciplined. This is just who I am. These statements may feel harmless, but they silently dictate your behavior. Every time you repeat them, you give your past permission to control your future. The moment you challenge these stories, you take your power back. You stop living based on who you were and start acting from who you are becoming. Cutting an old identity doesn't mean denying your past. It means refusing to be defined by it. Your past explains things, but it does not decide things. You are allowed to outgrow old patterns, old limits, and old labels. Growth requires separation. Just as a seed must break open to become a tree, you must be willing to break away from the identity that kept you safe but small. This shift requires conscious action. You begin asking different questions. What would the strongest version of me do today? How would a disciplined, confident, focused person handle this moment? Then you act accordingly even when it feels unfamiliar. At first, it may feel uncomfortable, even fake. That's not failure, that's evolution. Every action taken from the new identity strengthens it. Over time, your behavior rewires your self-image. Confidence is no longer something you chase, it becomes something you practice. Discipline is no longer something you force, it becomes who you are. And as this identity solidifies, your environment, opportunities, and relationships begin to change automatically to match it. By the end of 2026, people won't just see new habits, they'll see a new presence, a new way you carry yourself, a new level of certainty in your voice and decisions. That is the power of identity transformation. You didn't just change what you do, you changed who you are. Build relentless discipline, not temporary motivation, if you want to become unrecognizable in 2026. You must stop relying on motivation and start building discipline. Motivation is emotional. It rises and falls based on mood, energy, and circumstances. Discipline, on the other hand, is a decision you live by. It is the ability to act regardless of how you feel, and the people who transform their lives are not the most motivated. They are the most consistent. Discipline is built in the moments no one applauds. It's waking up when you don't feel like it. It's doing the work when the results aren't visible yet. It's choosing progress over comfort again and again. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you strengthen your self-respect. And self-respect is the foundation of confidence, power, and momentum. Temporary motivation looks for excitement. Discipline looks for structure. When you create daily routines that support your goals, you remove decision fatigue and excuses. You no longer ask whether you should act. You've already decided. This is how progress becomes automatic. The work gets done not because it's easy, but because it's who you are now. Relentless discipline also means mastering your inner dialogue. The voice that says skip today, do it later, or it doesn't matter, will always appear. Discipline is not silencing that voice, it's refusing to obey it. Every time you act despite resistance, you expand your capacity. What once felt difficult becomes normal. What once felt impossible becomes expected. By the end of 2026, your results will not come from bursts of inspiration, but from the quiet accumulation of disciplined action. People will ask how you changed so much, and the truth will be simple. You showed up when it was hard, you stayed consistent when others quit, and you became powerful through repetition. That is how discipline turns potential into a reality that cannot be ignored. Upgrade your environment, or it will control you. Most people believe their success depends on willpower, but the truth is far more practical. Your environment shapes your behavior long before willpower ever gets a chance. If you want to become unrecognizable in 2026, you must understand this. You do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your environment. What surrounds you daily is either reinforcing your growth or quietly sabotaging it. Your environment is not just the physical space you live in. It is the people you listen to, the conversations you tolerate, the content you consume, and the standards that are normalized around you. If you are constantly surrounded by distraction, negativity, or complacency, staying disciplined becomes a constant uphill battle. Not because you are weak, but because your environment is designed for stagnation. Upgrading your environment requires courage. It may mean distancing yourself from people who drain your energy or mock your ambition. It may mean changing how you use your phone, what you watch, or how you spend your evenings. These changes can feel uncomfortable at first because familiarity feels safe, but familiarity is not growth. The environment that created your current results cannot be the environment that creates your next level. When you intentionally design your environment, discipline becomes easier. The right books, the right voices, the right routines, and the right influences begin to pull you forward automatically. You don't need to fight temptation as often because it's no longer constantly in front of you. Instead of resisting the wrong path, you make the right path the default. As 2026 unfolds, This shift will quietly accelerate your transformation. While others rely on bursts of motivation, you rely on structure. While others struggle to stay focused, your environment does the heavy lifting for you, and over time, the gap between you and your old life becomes undeniable. By the end of 2026, people will notice something different not just in what you've achieved, but in how you think, speak, and move. That is the power of an upgraded environment. You didn't fight harder, you built smarter. Commit to daily growth, not overnight success. Becoming unrecognizable in 2026 is not the result of one dramatic breakthrough. It is the outcome of small, disciplined decisions made every single day. Most people chase overnight success because it feels exciting, but real transformation is built quietly, patiently, and consistently. It is built when no one is watching and when there is no immediate reward. Daily growth means choosing progress even when it feels insignificant. One focused hour, one healthy decision, one skill practiced, one limiting belief challenged. These actions may seem small in the moment, but compounded over time, they create a momentum that is unstoppable. What feels like effort today becomes identity tomorrow. This commitment requires trust in the process. You will have days when progress feels invisible, when doubt creeps in, and when quitting seems easier than continuing. But growth does not announce itself immediately, it reveals itself over time. Every day you show up, you are depositing into a future version of yourself that will one day stand taller, stronger, and more confident than you ever imagined. Daily growth also teaches patience and self-respect. Instead of rushing or comparing your journey to others, you focus on becoming better than you were yesterday. You learn to measure success not by perfection but by consistency. This shift removes pressure and replaces it with clarity and control. By the end of 2026, the results of daily growth will be impossible to ignore. People will call it luck, timing, or talent, but you will know the truth. It was the quiet discipline of choosing growth when it was boring, uncomfortable, and uncertain. That is how real transformation happens. That is how you become unrecognizable, not overnight, but for life.